And welcome to Newsround, where we do a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Coming up, President Bola Tinubu has described personnel of the Nigerian Army and other military personnel as heroes and assured them of improved welfare packages. And the federal government recommits prioritizing peace, justice, and sustainable development in Ogoni land. Vice President Kazim Shettima, other world leaders target $29 trillion by 2050, a new push to fully implement African Continental Free Trade Area. Plus, Donald Trump takes oath of office as the 47th President of the United States. That's Newsround in view. We'll begin with President Bola Tinubu hailing officers and men of the Nigerian military as heroes, thanking them for their effort of protecting the nation at all times. The president, who was speaking at the commissioning of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu Barracks and other newly constructed facilities, promised to address the welfare of the military. The president also performed the groundbreaking of the new Armed Forces Headquarters complex in the Asokoro district of the nation's capital.
Officers and men of the Nigerian Armed Forces, federal legislators, and ministers are here for the groundbreaking ceremony of the new Armed Forces Headquarters complex in Asokoro, Abuja. President Bola Tinubu is a special guest of honor. Speaking, the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Defense Staff believe the new complex can be a motivation for the armed forces.
I believe by bringing together the services under one roof, we are not just constructing a complex, we are building the foundation for enhanced strategic military planning, and operational synergy.
May this moment also reflect our resolve to work together and our serious need to bring this edifice to fruition. Let this renewed Armed Forces Headquarters complex be a national monument, a beacon of strength and resilience for all who serve and are serving in these great armed forces of Nigeria.
For the president, it is a time to appreciate men and officers of the armed forces.
I stand here to say thank you. Thank you for the improvement we have seen and the security, effectiveness, and the danger you faced most of the time. I salute you and am ready to back you. You never lost any battle. This one, you will win and win again.
It was then time for the groundbreaking for the construction of the complex. From here, the president moves to the commissioning ceremony of the new Bola Ahmed Tinubu Barracks in Asokoro. He also made clear his administration's commitment to the welfare of personnel of the armed forces.
Knowing that the federal government is always ready to provide what a troop needs to fulfill their mandate is essential for winning battles. You are our heroes, and I thank you for what you've been doing for this country. Your welfare cannot and we will not compromise on it. We will continue to commit resources to improve your welfare.
It's then time for the commissioning and a tour of the barracks. This barracks is set to address the acute shortage we understand the officers and men of the Nigerian Army are experiencing in Abuja and around the country. And the president has made clear his commitment that he will address that as a show of his commitment to the men and officers who serve this country courageously. From here in Abuja, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu assured Ogoni leaders that his administration would prioritize peace, justice, and sustainable development in Ogoni land. Speaking during a meeting with a delegation of over 50 Ogoni leaders, including Governor Siminalayi Fubara of River State and the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, President Tinubu called for unity and reconciliation, urging the Ogoni people to set aside historical grievances and work together to achieve peace, development, and a clean environment.
The delegation of Ogoni leaders arrived in the State House for their meeting with President Bola Tinubu. They led to the council chamber, venue of the meeting. Also present at the event is the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, ministers and aides. Once the President arrives, the national anthem is taken and the meeting commences. The Governor of Rivers State thanked the President for his support for the Ogoni people and for receiving the delegation.
The love we have for you, the respect we have for you, is just for you to say, you're behind that meeting, we should go back and continue the consultation with a timeline so that this issue of oil, resumption of oil operation in Ogoni land will commence. I can assure you that will give you all the necessary support to make you succeed in this assignment that other government has failed to achieve.
The National Security Advisor, who also spoke, commended the Ogoni people for their trust in President Tinubu, for embracing dialogue as a path to meaningful progress and enduring solutions.
Your Excellency, the presence of this delegation is a testament to the Ogoni people's readiness to engage constructively in the pursuit of peace, justice, and sustainable development. Their willingness to participate in this dialogue reflects a shared hope for meaningful progress and enduring solutions.
The President emphasizes the need for unity and reconciliation.
We cannot in any way rewrite the history, but we can correct some anomalies going forward. Let us put the grievances of the past aside. It cannot heal the wounds, but I know what to do in the memory of our beloved ones, so that their sacrifices will not be in vain.
After the meeting, the Minister of Environment outlined some of the federal government's efforts to address the extensive oil pollution in Ogoni land.
In the area of remediation, what is the most important area we are trying to address, we have done about 36 sites. They have been completed and they have been certified as environmentally conducive for people to continue doing that. In the area of mangrove, so far we have planted more than 2 million seedlings of mangrove during the last 6 months, and we're still on that.
This meeting appears to set the stage for more consultations that will bring peace, development, and a clean environment back to Ogoni land. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
And to other top stories this week, the Senate is pushing for the conduct of a national population census before the end of the current administration. This commitment was reiterated during a budget defense session with the chairman of the National Population Commission in Abuja.
The appearance of the chairman and officials of the National Population Commission is in continuation of the 2025 budget defense sessions in the National Assembly.
2025 budget.
As the chairman of the commission reels out an increased budgetary proposal of 18.27 billion naira for 2025, an air of discontent settled in the room as the protracted challenge of the national census is rekindled.
I feel bad that up to date we're still postulating or using estimate at a very modern world where we would want to bring a modern Nigeria. Because there's no way you can plan when you don't know the rule you are planning for. We need to say yes, performance of 90-something%, but that's not the expected performance that Nigerians are expecting from the Nigerian Population Commission. We want to know our population.
We need to find a way of talking to the leadership of the nation. How can we just in this year be referring to foreign data? You referring to UNICEF, who will come to your office for what they are doing? Use the National Assembly leadership, this chairman's leadership, and us to get to Mr. President. If there's election now, they will not postpone election because of money. There are other critical assignments that government think they are very necessary, and they will not postpone. They postpone other things for what is considered very important. We have to let the government know that this is equally very, very important.
Lawmakers took turns to lambaste the procrastination that has accompanied the nation's population census in the last 19 years.
We are not going to rest on our hours until this census takes place within the jurisdiction of this government by Allah's grace. I have written to see Mr. President so that I can brief him. He wants the census to be conducted with biometrics, and we don't want to also be accusing the reverend people of counting fishes in the north of counting cows. So if we do census with biometrics, you can be definitely sure that people were actually enumerated. What you want.
Elsewhere, the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy appears before a joint committee addressing various queries while advocating for increased funding.
Dredging of the River Niger. What are the plans there? Yes, the issue of dredging is very important to ensure that our waterways are navigable at all times. Again, there's need to make adequate funding available. My appeal is to the committee to please ensure that we want us to be able to unlock the potentials in the economy. There's a need for proper funding.
Meanwhile, against the backdrop of the recent telecoms hike, the ministry tenders more explanations.
The hike is also based on inflation globally. This is a sector that has not increased price for a long time. But also, how do we support them to ensure that these companies continue to stay sustainable? This is a sector that employs about 15,000 people directly, but also the price hike is not significant to the point where it becomes painful for our people.
As the budget's defense deadline narrows, more officials are expected into the National Assembly this week to defend their proposed budgets. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
And earlier in the week, the Minister of Aviation, Mr. Festus Keyamo, rejected a 532 billion naira variation contract for the construction of the second runway of the Abuja airport. Speaking during an appearance before a joint committee on aviation, Mr. Keyamo highlighted detailed delays that have plagued the project for years, citing inadequate funding and unresolved community issues as major setbacks.
The Minister of Aviation, alongside a team of officials from the ministry, appear before the National Assembly Joint Committee on Aviation for the 2024 Performance Appraisal and 2025 Budget Defense Session.
In your own opinion,
The Abuja second runway project embroiled in controversies and delays since former President Obasanjo's administration is again revived.
we've been talking about second runway since when we came into the 9th Senate. That issue has been there.
This is one of the larger issues in Nigeria of not executing such projects on time. I think the 9th Assembly, there was a small provision and there was an actual release. The total sum, just to make it open, at that time was 90 billion. Lo and behold, as I speak with you now, the contractors have left the site. The variation from 90 billion, they are proposing 532 billion. I will not accept it. The option I have is to cancel the contract. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't want to say, but the option I have now is that we have to invite fresh bids because they cannot hold us to ransom.
The questions persisted as other lawmakers highlighted additional critical areas.
I don't see why we need an aerospace university. Abuja University is there badly funded. We could have an aerospace and aviation department there.
I think it's just a matter of perspective also. Whether we can be in complete control as an aviation ministry to develop the courses we think will develop the aviation ecosystem in Nigeria.
Separately, the nation's growing debt profile is a nodal point as the Director General appears before a joint committee on foreign and local debts.
What is the total debt of the country?
As at September 30th, the debt stock in Naira terms was 142 trillion Naira. So that includes the federal government, the 36 states, and the Federal Capital Territory. But I also like to add that when you put all the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory together, they account for only about 10% of that figure. So it means we should be looking at each other here and know that we own most of Nigeria's public debt.
In the meantime, the Senate Committee on Appropriations have begun the critical task of receiving and compiling reports of the various committees. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
And to electoral matters, ahead of the 2027 general election, the Interparty Advisory Council, IPAC, is urging the federal lawmakers to speed up the amendment processes of the country's electoral laws and help rebuild trust in the process. IPAC chairman, Mr. Yusuf Dantale, made the appeal at a consultative meeting with political parties convened by INEC, which also deliberated on preparations for the forthcoming governorship election in Anambra State. Take a listen.
This is the first consultative meeting that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is holding with leaders of political parties in 2025, and the chairman of INEC is presiding over the meeting. Chairman and national secretaries of some major political parties are in attendance. The INEC chair calls the meeting to order and presents the agenda for the day, which includes preparations for the forthcoming governorship election in Anambra State and area council elections in the Federal Capital Territory.
You may recall that at our last regular consultative meeting held on the 17th of October last year, the Commission released the timetable and schedule of activities for the Anambra State governorship election holding on Saturday, the 8th of November 2025. May I remind leaders of political parties that primaries for the nomination of candidates for the Anambra State governorship election begins in the next 2 months. That is, from the 20th of March to the 14th of April 2025. The Commission has approved that the 2026 area council election in the FCT will hold on Saturday, 21st February 2026.
Aside from the forthcoming elections, leaders of the political parties are asking the National Assembly to expedite action on the amendments to the electoral laws.
Council urges the National Assembly to expedite action in the ongoing Constitution and Electoral Act amendment, as time is of the essence. There is no doubt that the conduct of successful election is a collective responsibility of stakeholders. It is the reason we must rebuild trust in the electoral process.
Apart from the Anambra State governorship and the FCT area council elections, which are imminent, INEC and political parties also have to strategize on the conduct of over 30 by-elections resulting from death and resignation of lawmakers.
And earlier this week in Davos, Switzerland, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima and other global leaders participated in the World Economic Forum, where they pushed for the full implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which they say can boost the continent's economy to $29 trillion by 2050. At a breakfast meeting on the sidelines of the event, the Vice President expressed confidence that Nigeria is ready to spearhead the agreement through digital transformation and economic integration of Africa.
Vice President Kashim Shettima arrives the conference center of the World Economic Forum for a breakfast meeting. The meeting brings together international private sector players and political leaders from across the African continent, focusing on how the continent can be positioned in the fourth industrial revolution. Emphasis is on leveraging the African continental free trade area.
It can boost intra-African trade with staggering 50%. And by 2050, we can have a $29 trillion US economy in Africa.
When we started 2-3 years ago, we set out a roadmap in an assessment of what is the market in Africa, what is the potential for investment. And we identified 4 sectors: automotive sector, agriculture, agro-processing, transport, logistics, and pharmaceuticals. And we estimated that investment value proposition is up to $150 billion. We came back the following year and we decided to develop an action plan.
Commitments are made to catalyze investments in infrastructure and agriculture in Africa.
It's far cheaper to produce battery precursors in Africa. So when we open up the Master Corridor, we will have industrial parks that are focused on the battery value chain. And we are also going to ensure that we have the agricultural value chain unlocked as part of this process. So part of the initial activities is to actually define areas in Angola where we have, I would say, a lot of agricultural value chain to be unlocked.
An action plan for investment.
For Vice President Shettima, Africa is the future of the world, and Nigeria is setting the pace.
We are a young continent, and the future belongs to us. So I'm absolutely certain that in the fullness of time, Africa that meets the agricultural age, that meets the industrial age, I believe will leapfrog to the first industrial knowledge-driven age. And by the grace of God, Africa will leapfrog to a new generation.
The Vice President also assures the participants of the readiness of President Bola Tinubu's administration to partner investors ready to do business with Nigeria. No doubt that Nigeria is making an impression here at the 2025 World Economic Forum as Vice President Shettima and the Nigerian delegation continue to engage with global leaders. And as the event progresses towards an end, it does appear that Nigeria may hit a great deal. From Davos in Switzerland, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
And it was a grand inauguration ceremony that held on Monday, which saw the swearing of Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States. In his inaugural address, the U.S. President says the golden age of America has commenced, adding that he will put an end to what he called weaponization of the Justice Department.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country, sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. All of this will change starting today, and it will change very quickly.
Those were the top stories for the week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.